There is a man named Ray whose son I never met, and I destroyed his life anyway. I need to tell you about that. I need to tell you because I have carried it for 20 years, and the weight of it has never once gotten lighter, not one single day. And maybe if I say it out loud, maybe it becomes something I can finally put down. Maybe. It was 2002, November. I know the month because I remember the cold. I remember the specific cold of a Los Angeles night that surprises you. Because you forget that Los Angeles gets cold. People don't talk about that. They show you the postcards, the palm trees, the sunshine. They don't show you November at 2 in the morning when the streets are empty and the wind comes off the hills like something with intention. I was in a car, a black car. Nothing unusual about that. I was always in a black car. But this particular night, I had asked Marcus, my driver, I had asked him to just drive. No destination, no schedule, just move through the city. Because I couldn't sleep and the house was too big. And the quiet inside it was a specific kind of quiet that I had learned to be afraid of. We drove for maybe an hour, and then I saw the light, a diner, one of those small, old, entirely unremarkable diners that exist in American cities like fossils. A neon sign in the window, blue and orange, the letters spelling something I couldn't fully read, and through the glass, I could see the yellow light inside and the silhouette of someone sitting at the counter. Just one person. I don't know why I asked Marcus to stop. I cannot give you a rational explanation. Something about that single silhouette at that counter at 2 in the morning called to something in me. A recognition, not of the person, of the feeling. I had a disguise I used in those years. Simple, effective, a hat pulled low, a scarf, ordinary clothes, nothing that invited a second look. I had learned the art of disappearing into plainness, of making myself so unremarkable that people's eyes would simply slide past me. I went inside. The diner smelled like coffee, and something fried, and something sweet, an old smell. A human smell, the kind of smell that exists in places where real people eat real food after real days. There was a woman behind the counter, maybe 60, glasses on a chain. She looked up at me and said, "Sit anywhere you like, hun." Hun. Nobody had called me hun in longer than I could remember. I sat 2 stools down from the man at the counter. He was maybe 55. Maybe 60, big hands wrapped around a coffee mug, gray at his temples. He was not looking at anything in particular. He had the look of a man who had been sitting inside a thought for a very long time and had stopped trying to find his way out of it. His name was on the work shirt he was wearing. Ray, embroidered in red thread above the pocket. Ray. Like something out of a movie about regular American life. I almost smiled, in a different life. I wanted a name like that, something short and solid and completely without mythology attached to it. I ordered coffee. The woman brought it without ceremony. I wrapped my hands around it the same way Ray had his, and we sat in silence for a while, side by side. 2 men in a diner at 2 in the morning saying nothing. And then Ray said, without turning to look at me, "You couldn't sleep either." It was not a question. I said, "No, I couldn't sleep either." And something about the way I said it, or maybe just the hour, maybe just the specific loneliness of that particular neon-lit place at that particular moment in the night. Something made him turn and look at me, and I held my breath, waiting for the recognition, waiting for the eyes to go wide, waiting for everything that always happened when someone looked too closely. He looked at me for a long moment, and then he said, "You remind me of my son." I exhaled. He turned back to his coffee, and without any preamble, without any of the social warm-up that people usually require before they say something real to a stranger, he simply began to talk. His son's name was Daniel. He said it the way you say a word you have said 10,000 times alone in a dark room. Daniel, 24 years old. He hadn't seen him in 3 years. He said Daniel was a dancer, had been a dancer since he was 4 years old, could not stop moving, could not stop watching videos and learning every step, every slide, every impossible physical thing that a human body was not supposed to be able to do. Ray said he used to come home from work and Daniel would have pushed all the furniture to the walls of the living room and would be in there for hours, just practicing, just becoming something. Ray's coffee mug turned slowly in his big hands. He said he was not always understanding about it. He paused a long time on that sentence. He said he grew up in a world where men did not dance, where men did not dedicate their entire existence to movement and music, and something that felt, to him, uncomfortably close to performance, to showing off, to not being serious about life. He had worked 30 years in a warehouse. He had calluses on his hands like bark. He had a specific idea of what a man was supposed to build with his time on earth. And his son was in the living room, moving like water, moving like something Ray did not have language for. He told me that Daniel had one particular obsession, one person, one artist, one performer whose music and movement had become so central to Daniel's identity that Ray could not separate his son from it anymore. The posters on the walls, the music through the floor at night, the VHS tapes worn smooth from rewinding, the hours in the mirror practicing something specific and sacred and entirely beyond Ray's ability to understand or value. He didn't say the name. He didn't need to. I knew. Something moved through me that I am still not able to name precisely. It was not pride. It was something older and heavier than pride. Something that had responsibility inside it. Ray said he told Daniel to stop. He said he told him more than once. He said he told him that this obsession was not a life, that dancing after some pop star was not a foundation that anything real could be built on, that he needed to come back to earth and be serious about his future. He said Daniel looked at him one morning across the kitchen table and said, "This is not an obsession. This is who I am." And Ray said, "Then I don't know who you are." He put his coffee mug down very carefully. He said Daniel left that afternoon. He said he had packed a bag over the previous days without Ray knowing, which meant he had been planning it, which meant he had known it was coming before Ray did, which meant that the conversation at the kitchen table was not the beginning of the end. It was just the end. He had a phone number for a while. Then the phone number stopped working. He had an address in another city for a while. He had written letters. He did not know if they were received. He had driven to that city once and stood outside an apartment building for 2 hours before driving home without going inside. Because by then he did not know what he would say. Because by then he had spent enough nights alone in the warehouse of his own pride to understand that what he had told his son was wrong. He did not say that the way people say it when they want credit for the admission. He said it the way a person says something they have known for a long time that they cannot undo. The way you admit a thing when the admission costs you nothing anymore. anymore because the damage is already permanent. I don't know why I am telling you this, Ray said. He almost smiled. Maybe because it's 2 in the morning and you can't sleep either and you have that look. I asked him, what look? He said, like someone who knows what it is to be misunderstood by the people who were supposed to understand you first. I did not speak for a long time after that. The woman behind the counter refilled our coffee without asking. I thought about Daniel. I had never met Daniel. I did not know his face. I did not know the specific way he moved or the particular step he had practiced most in that cleared-out living room. I did not know what my music had sounded like coming through his headphones in a city I would never visit. I did not know what he had become, or where he was, or whether he was still dancing. But I knew this. My music had been in that living room. My image had been on those walls. My movement had been the thing Daniel was trying to learn when Ray came home from the warehouse and could not understand what he was seeing. I had been inside that family without knowing it, without asking, without any awareness of the weight I was carrying into people's lives, simply by existing the way I existed. And something in that family had broken along a fault line that ran, at least partially, through me. I wanted to tell Ray who I was. I want you to know that I genuinely considered it. I sat there on that stool and I felt the words forming and I thought, I could say it. I could tell him. I could give him something. A letter for Daniel. A phone number. Some concrete bridge back toward his son. Something only I could provide. But then I thought about Daniel. I thought about what it might do to Daniel to know that his father had been sitting in a diner at 2 in the morning, telling a stranger his story, even if the stranger was me, especially if the stranger was me. Some things people carry alone because the carrying is itself the last private thing they own. So I said nothing about who I was. I said only this. I said, find him. Ray looked at me. I said, whatever it costs you, whatever it requires you to admit, whatever version of yourself you have to become that you have never been before, find him because he is carrying your silence like a stone, and he does not know if you are looking. Ray was quiet for a long time. He said, what if it's too late? I said, it is never too late to let someone know you see them now, even if you couldn't see them before, even if you wasted years not seeing them. Right now, tonight, you see him. That is not nothing. That is everything. Ray paid for both our coffees. He stood up and put on his jacket and he looked at me one more time and he said, I still don't know who you are. I said, that's all right. It doesn't matter. He nodded and he walked out into the November cold. I sat there for another hour, just me and the woman with the glasses on the chain and the smell of coffee and the orange and blue neon making the window glow. I thought about all of it. I thought about how a person can move through the world believing they are simply making art, simply making music, simply making something beautiful, and never once stop to reckon with what that beauty does when it lands in someone else's life, how it rearranges things, how it becomes part of someone's identity, how it can be the exact thing that drives a wedge between a father and a son who do not have enough language between them to cross it. I never knew about Daniel. I never knew about the living room with the furniture pushed to the walls, the VHS tapes, the mirror, the kitchen table. The morning the bag was already packed, but it happened while I was somewhere making music. It happened, and I want to be careful here because I am not saying the music was wrong. I am not saying that Daniel was wrong to love it. I'm not saying that people should protect their children from beauty. That is not the lesson. That is not what that November night was telling me. It was telling me something more uncomfortable. It was telling me that influence is not a clean thing, that when you become something large in the world, something that people orbit their own lives around, you carry a responsibility you cannot fully see or understand or manage. You are inside people's homes, inside their relationships, inside the spaces between fathers and sons. And you move through those spaces like something invisible, like a current underwater that shifts things on the surface. I used to think my responsibility was to the art. I used to think if I made something true and beautiful and honest, I had done what was required of me. That night in the diner, I understood that the art was just the beginning. The responsibility went further than I had ever been willing to follow it. I tried to find Ray afterward. I asked Marcus if he remembered the street, the diner, the approximate neighborhood. We drove back twice. The diner was there. The neon sign was the same. But the man at the counter was never Ray again. I wrote something in my journal that night. I have never shown it to anyone, but I will tell you what it said. It said, "Somewhere there is a boy named Daniel who dances in empty rooms, and his father is looking for him, and they are both right, and they are both alone, and I am somewhere in the middle of it, invisible, responsible, hoping the music was worth it. I am 68 years old now. I still hope. I hope Daniel is still dancing. I hope Ray found the right words. I hope the silence between them is not the last thing. And I truly hope that whatever you love in this world, whatever you have built your life around without apology, someone in your life chose to stay in the room for it instead of walk away. Because a person who stays in the room for what you love, that person is very rare. And they deserve to know it tonight, not tomorrow, tonight.